the topic you guys would have done before, but just to revise it because the questions are there. So quadratic is a graph which is called a parabola. It can be like this, or it can be like this. ठीक है. अब ये दो specific types of graphs हैं for the quadratic graphs. The left one, some people call this a happy face, and then for the right one, some people call this a sad face. So quadratic equation का general formula is supposed to be ax square plus bx plus c. ठीक है. For the happy face graph that we've shown on the left, इसके अंदर जो यहाँ पर a है ना, this a will be a positive number. So you can say that the coefficient of x square is positive for a happy face quadratic curve. Whereas for a sad face, the coefficient of x square, which is a, will be a negative number. Okay, so yeah, so the coefficient of x square positive, it's a happy face curve. Coefficient of x square negative, it's a sad face curve. So you can remember with happy, it's positive, sad is negative. अच्छा, अब turning point क्या होता है on a quadratic curve? So the maximum or the minimum point, basically the point at which the curve turns. So you can see, as I'm drawing the red line, till this point, I'm going downwards. After this point, I will go upwards, right? So ये जो point है, this is called the turning point. Whereas in a sad phase graph, अभी I'm going upwards till this point. After this point, I'll start going downwards. So ये जो point है, this is the turning point. What are these turning points called? So in a happy phase curve, because the turning point is the lowest value of the graph, so this will be called a minimum point. Whereas in a sad phase graph, because the turning point is the largest value that the graph can have, it's called a maximum point. ठीक है. अब सबसे important चीज for a quadratic curve is the coordinate of the maximum or minimum point. ठीक है. So maximum minimum point की coordinate ढूंढने के लिए there are two methods. So for turning point, which can be both maximum or minimum depending on the coefficient of x square, which is a, there are two methods to find this. The first method is completing the square. And the second method is middle term breaking. अच्छा, कहीं भी if my audio starts lagging, just please text on the chat. So सबसे पहले we'll start with the completing the square method. So as I mentioned, the general form of any quadratic equation is ax square plus bx plus c. For completing the square method, we have to convert this equation into a specific form, which is ठीक है. So हम इस general equation को, general quadratic equation को इस form में लाएंगे. This form will help us find the coordinates of the turning point. ठीक है. Once we've gotten this form, we can easily find the coordinates of the turning point, which will be h, k. ठीक है. So हमारे पास ये फॉर्म होती है initially, इसको इसमें convert किया, we take the value over here and the value over here. These two are the turning point. अब जो again जो a था, if a is positive, then this is a minimum point as we did over here. So a is positive, it's a minimum point. If a is negative, it's a maximum point. ठीक है. Now the question is, how do we go from here to here? ठीक है, इसके लिए we use an identity. We need to keep the identity in mind, which you guys would have done at some point. So a minus b whole square is equals to a square minus 2ab plus b square. ठीक है, just keep this in mind. We'll apply this in the process. Now let's take a certain example of a quadratic equation in this form, and then we'll convert that to this form. So let's take an equation 2x squared minus 12x plus 16. You should go to a new page. We'll go to a new page. वहाँ शुरू करते हैं. ठीक है. अब on the left, I'm doing the job, and then on the right, I'm writing the points on what steps you should follow. ठीक है. So the first step is that whatever is the coefficient of x square, you take that common from the first two terms. So यहाँ पर ये first two terms है, x square का coefficient is 2. You take 2 common from both of these terms. So 16 को हम ignore कर देंगे for now. So we'll take 2 common from the first two terms. If you take 2 common from 2x square, it will just become x square. And you take 2 common from 12x, it will become 6x. ठीक है, and 16 we keep as it is. So हमारा first step जो है वो हो गया take a, which is the coefficient of x square, common from first two terms. ठीक है, next step ये है कि we'll divide the coefficient of x by 2. So x का coefficient is 6. We'll divide that by 2, and then we'll add the square of it and subtract the square of it. Like, if this sounds complicated, I'll show what I'm saying. So हमने x का coefficient लिया, which is 6. We divide 6 by 2. What does it become? 3. So you add the square of 3 and you subtract the square of 3. ठीक है, the reason we both add and subtract is ताकि overall null effect हो जाए. These two cancel out, so it does not affect the equation. So the second step was that we divide the new coefficient of x by 2, add its square and subtract its square. ठीक है, so going over this again, we took the coefficient of x, divided that by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. We add the square of 3 and subtract the square of 3. अब क्या करेंगे, जो लास्ट टर्म है ना इसके अंदर subtract square वाली, उसको we'll take out of this whole bracket. So शुरू की टर्म्स वैसी की वैसी रहेंगी. Now last term you have to take it out. So to take it out of the bracket, we need to multiply it with 2. So we multiply negative 3 square by 2. Sorry. Or 16 as it is. Okay. So we have to take out the last term of the bracket. अब जो है, we can apply the identity over here. Now you link it with this identity. So you can see over here there's x square, there's a square, there's 3 square, there's b square. Ab a has to be x, b has to be 3. ठीक है, and then there has to be 2. So 2 times b was 3, 2 times 3 would have been 6. So we have this. We can write this in this way as well. X square minus 2x 3 plus 3 square. इसको हम सिंप्लीफाई कर लेते हैं जो एंड में है. If we add all of this together, we'll get so negative, and then there's 3 with a square, so that's negative 9. Negative 9 times 2 is negative 18 plus 16 is negative 2. Okay. Acha. Now you can see over here, this is a square, this is b square, this is a, this is b. So we can apply this identity. This will become a minus b whole square. So this becomes x minus 3 whole square minus 2. Now, as I said, once we've gotten, so now you can see that this form and this form are similar, right? I'll bring this over there as well. So now you can compare these two forms. So let's take a new color. So h is equals to, acha, step nahi likha maine. So the next step was apply the identity. So अब जो है हमारे पास, if we compare, so h is equals to 3, right? And k will be equals to negative 2. Because यहाँ पे प्लस था, यहाँ माइनस है, तो k should be equal to negative 2. So the turning point over here will be 3 comma minus 2. So 3 on the x-axis, minus 2 on the y-axis. If we try to just draw a छोटा सा graph of how this would look, let's say this is 1, 2, 3, negative 1, negative 2. So the point, this is the point 3 comma negative 2, and the graph would be something like, I'm not sure where it cuts right now, but it would be something like this. Or let's draw it better, something like this. Okay. Acha. Does this make sense? Whoever has their name as ABC, can you elaborate on your question, the terms enclosed in bracket? Yeah, Husna, I'll do another example as well. Amin, can you, you're talking about apply the identity wala step? Acha, Kawal, identities basic wali, like a plus b whole square, a minus b whole square, a square minus b square, you should have them in your mind because they can get applied. So the thing is that these identities aren't necessary, but these are identities that will help you in the questions. So if you remember these, it will become easier for you to do questions in some cases. But it's always possible to do them without it. Is anyone else also having आवाज का issue? ठीक है. Hasnan, can you please check? It might be on your end. अच्छा, the step before applying the identity. मैं repeat कर देता हूँ. This was Amin's question. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correct. So you're talking about this step? I'll explain -2 as well. Sure. अच्छा. So मैंने क्या किया? मैंने इस step में जो x का coefficient था, so x का coefficient is 6. I take that, I divide that by 2. If I divide 6 by 2, तो क्या आएगा? 3, right? 3 को I'll square, that becomes 3 square, and I add that and subtract that inside the bracket. ठीक है? Then what did I do? I want to remove this from the bracket. ठीक है? So to remove this from the bracket, I need to multiply this with what is outside the bracket. So मैंने minus of 3 square को 2 से multiply किया. ठीक है? And I took it outside. Does that make sense? अच्छा, so Kaval, you're asking -3, uh, -3. Acha. So the thing is that the square over here is not on -3. So if it was -3 or square is tarah se, that would be 9. Over here we have -3 square. So square जो है वो सिर्फ 3 के ऊपर है. So this will become -9. ठीक है? Does that make sense? Kaval? ठीक है. So someone else is saying should minus go with 2 instead of 3 square. You can also write this. Acha. So you could also write this as this. That would also be the same thing, so it won't make a difference. Laiba, did you understand how we got -2? Kaval, ideally, a question should take you a couple of minutes, like 2-3 minutes. But right now, because we're understanding how to do this, so it's fine. Because this might be the first time you're doing this method for some people. But ideally, it should take lesser time. ठीक है? Sorry. Acha, now for another example on this method. So let's take ठीक है. So माइनस नहीं समझ आया -2. अच्छा. So when you're taking this outside the bracket, so what you basically need to do is that you need to multiply this with what is outside the bracket. So this minus has to travel with it. Up you can write it in two ways. So if you have, for example, मैं यहाँ पे करके दिखाता हूँ. Let's say you have, I'm just writing it for explaining right now. Okay, and you need to open the bracket. So what you'll do is you'll multiply 2 with everything. So 2x minus, you can write it like this. Okay, this is one way of writing it. Or you can also write it as 2x plus 2 times -3 square. So both of these are the same thing. Okay. So when you're taking this outside the bracket, you just need to multiply it with 2. It doesn't matter where you put the minus sign. And then once you get this, so you square 3, that's 9. 9 times 2 is 18. Minus 18 ho jayega. And then this is plus 16. So minus 18 plus 16 will be -2. Sure. Now for this question. So now the first step, remember, was take a common from first two terms. So a over here is 3. So we take 3 common from the first two terms. अच्छा, ठीक है. First step हो गया. Second step है divide the new coefficient of x by 2, add its square and subtract its square. So x का coefficient is 4 over here. You divide 4 by 2, you get 2. So you have to add the square of 2 and you have to subtract the square of 2. Okay, so I added and subtracted it. Now I need to take this out of the bracket. So I need to multiply this with 3. Again, it does not matter how you do that. We can write it like this. Okay. Acha. Now I can write the bracket in this way to imitate the identity. In fact, like this. if I multiply this together, so we'll have 3 fours are 12 plus 11. Now, if I apply a square plus 2a square plus 2ab plus plus b square over here, so we'll have a as x and b as 2. So you can see over here this sign with the term with x is positive. So that's why you'll apply a different identity over here. So the identity over here will be a plus b whole square equals to a square plus 2ab plus b square. So a over here is x, b is 2. So we can write this as x plus 2 whole square, and minus 12 plus 11 will be minus 1. Achha. Is this clear? So why do you multiply minus 2 with 3? I'll multiply minus 2 square with 3. Achha. So I had to take out the last term from the bracket, right? So over here, our third step was take out the last term of the bracket. So I have to remove this from the bracket. So to remove it from the bracket, I need to multiply it with what's multiplied with the complete bracket, which is 3. So that's why I have to multiply this with 3. Achha. Now we need to compare this with the general formula. The general formula is ax minus h square plus k. Now there's a slight problem over here. K to simple hai. K over here will just be minus 1. What do you guys think will the value of h be? Perfect. So because the general formula has a minus sign over here, but over here it's positive, so h will have to be minus 2. So if you input minus 2 in place of h, you'll see that it becomes x plus 2 whole square plus k, which is the same as this. So h over here will be minus 2. So this is something you need to be careful about. So the turning point that we got for this question is minus 2 comma minus 1. And again, because the coefficient of x square, which is a, is positive, so this will be a minimum point. No, so Kavil, only two identities will apply over here, which are a plus b whole square and a minus b whole square. The third identity, which is similar to these, is a square minus b square equals to a plus b, a minus b, but it won't get applied over here. Okay. Now going over the second method. So हम करेंगे ये कि we'll use the same equations and use the second method. तो उससे ये होगा कि we can also tally if we're doing it correct. So our first equation was 2x square minus 12x plus 16. अच्छा, अब middle term breaking में क्या होता है? So middle term breaking में ये होता है कि we try to make two factors out of the equation that we have. So an easy way of thinking about how to do this is that you multiply the first and the last numbers. So 2 times 16, which gives you 32. Okay? So 2 times 16. Now think of two numbers that when multiplied together will give you 32. Okay? So those numbers should be in such a way that when they're added together, they add up to 12. So हमने पहले क्या किया? We multiplied the first and the last number. What answer we got? We need two numbers that multiply to this and add up to this. So in this case, if you think of 4 multiplied with 8. So 4 multiplied with 8 is 32 and 4 plus 8 is 12, right? So once we've identified such a number, now we'll go here. We'll take minus 4x because the reason is that this is minus 12x. So we need to have the numbers add up to this. So minus 4x and minus 8x, the rest will be the same. So the name of the method was middle term breaking. So we broke this term into two terms that will add up to the same thing. Okay? But to get a hint of what numbers we'll use over here, we multiplied the first two terms to get an idea. All right, now we've broken the middle terms. Now we'll work first with the first two terms and the last two terms separately. So first two terms में से हम जो common है वो निकाल लेते हैं. So from the first two terms we can take 2x common. Then we'll be left with x in the first term and minus 2 in the second term. Okay? So if you only think of this part, you take 2x common, you'll be left with x over here and minus 2 over here. Now we need to take a certain number common from here such that we get the same bracket over there as well. So if we take minus 8 common, we'll be left with x and minus 2. Okay? We can also check that we've done it this correctly. So if we open this bracket, we would get 2x squared minus 4x, which is the same as this. And to check this, if we multiply minus 8 with the bracket minus 8x plus 16, which is the same as this. ठीक है? अब जो है, जो हमारे पास दो brackets हैं, we'll take those common. So we'll take complete x minus 2 common. We'll be left with 2x minus 8. ठीक है? Now, once you've gotten the two brackets, we'll equate those with 0 separately. So x minus 2 equals to 0 and 2x minus 8 equals to 0. So x is equals to 2, 2x is equals to 8, x is equals to 4. Okay? Now, once you've gotten the two values of x, so first thing, what do these represent? So the values that you're getting from here, these will represent the x-intercepts. X-intercept means okay, if we have the graph over here, so the points at which the graph cuts the x-axis. So this point and this point. These are the x-intercepts. So the x-intercepts over here are 2 and 4. Now, once you've gotten the x-intercepts, you add them up and divide them by 2. So हमने x-intercepts लिए, we add them up and we divide them by 2. This gives us 6 upon 2, which will be 3. Okay? What you got from this by adding them and dividing them by 2, this is the x coordinate of turning point. Now we can check this with the previous working we did. So previous जो हमने किया था using the completing the square method, over here as well we got the x coordinate as 3 and we again got the x coordinate as 3. Let's just wait for the azan for a couple of minutes and then we'll restart. All right. So we found the x coordinate of the turning point. Now we need to find the y coordinate. For the y coordinate, we'll input the x coordinate into the equation of the curve. So the equation of the curve is over here. We'll input the x coordinate into that. So 2x square minus 12x plus 16. Inputting 3 in place of x. So we'll have 3 square is 9, 9 twos are 18, 12 threes are 36, and then 16. 16 plus 18 will be 34. This will be minus 2. So our turning point will be 3 comma minus 2. And if we compare this, so we can see we've got the same turning point from both methods. Okay. Does middle term breaking make sense? We'll do another question as well. Okay. So for the next question, again, we'll obviously, so we've done this. 3 square plus 2 is 12x plus 11. जल्दी से कर लेते हैं. अच्छा. Now I'll need your help. I want you to break the middle term for me and tell me what it should be. Acha. So the first step that I told you guys to do middle term breaking was that you multiply the first two numbers. If you multiply the first two numbers, so you're getting 33 over here. Now we need to think of two numbers that if multiplied give 33 and if added or subtracted give 12. So 33 देख लेते हैं कैसे कैसे आ सकता है. 33 can be if there is 1 and 33. This would give 33, but even adding them or subtracting them will not give 12. 2 से नहीं आ सकता. 3 times 11 can give us 33. Again, if we add 3 and 11, we'll get 14. If we subtract them, we'll get 8. So we won't get 12. 33 can be 9 के साथ नहीं आएगा, 6 के साथ भी नहीं आएगा. Yeah, I think that's it. So with 33, as Aisha said, Subhan said, and Kaval said, middle term breaking won't be possible for this question because there's no such way you can break 33 that no such way you can break 12 that you get 33 as the multiple. Okay? So over here, we'll have to go with the completing square method. Another method that people use normally with calculators is the quadratic formula, but over here you can't use that because you won't have a formula and that would make it a little difficult. So for a question like this, we'll stick to the completing square method. Let me see if I can get anything else on which we can apply middle term breaking. Okay. X square minus 2x minus 3. What will be the, how will we break the middle term over here? ठीक है. So if we, so Because there's nothing written before x square, that means that the coefficient is 1. If we multiply 1 with 3, we get 3, and 1 times 3 is 3. And if we take the difference of these, so 1 minus 3 is minus 2. And that's exactly what we need over here. So we'll keep the first term as it is. Then we'll take plus x minus 3x minus 3. Take x common from the first two terms, so x plus 1, minus 3 common from the next two terms, so again x plus 1. We'll take x plus 1, the whole bracket common, we'll get x minus 3. Now equate both of these with 0. So x plus 1 equals to 0, x minus 3 equals to 0, x equals to minus 1, x equals to 3. Okay. So we've gotten the x intercepts. Now what do we need to do to find the turning point? Okay. So as Qasim said, if we not 2, it won't be 2. So as I mentioned earlier, for the turning point using the x-intercepts, we'll add the two x-intercepts. So it's minus 1 plus 3 and divide that by 2. So 3 minus 1 will be 2. This will become 1. So the x value of the turning point is 1. Okay. And then for the y coordinate of the turning point, we'll input the x coordinate into the original equation. So x square minus 2x minus 3 mein we'll put 1. So 1 minus 2 minus 3 equals to minus 4. Okay, so our turning point will be 1 comma minus 4. Qasim, Husna, do you get why it's minus 4? Hmm. What if x is a decimal number? Okay. So Zubair, they won't give you questions where you'll be getting decimal numbers because they know that a calculator is not allowed. So they'll keep it simple. You'll have numericals in most. You'll have integer numbers in most cases. Okay. Okay. Now we'll do the discriminant method in the next class. What it's for and how it's applied. Before we go to questions, I just want one person to explain the completing square method by unmuting, and one person to do the middle term breaking. Just the steps quickly. Please volunteer, otherwise I'll have to call names. Zubair, can you try explaining the completing square method? Please. Yeah, you can also try. Yeah, fast and sure.
अच्छा, तो जितना मुझे समझ आया, पहले हम इक्वेशन को ले लेंगे। उसके बाद हम जो पहली दो टर्म्स होंगे उसमें से एक नंबर को कॉमन लेंगे। कॉमन लेने के बाद जो इक्वेशन बच जाएगी उसके बाद देखेंगे हम एक्स के साथ जो कोएफिशिएंट होगा उसको हम 2 से डिवाइड करेंगे, उसके स्क्वायर को ऐड करेंगे और सब्ट्रैक्ट करेंगे। फिर जो नेगेटिव होगा स्क्वायर जिसको हमने अभी भी डाला है उसको हम चाहेंगे कि ब्रैकेट से हम बाहर निकालें। उसको ब्रैकेट से बाहर निकाल के हम सेपरेट कर देंगे। सेपरेट करने के बाद फिर हम अपनी इक्वेशन को ए स्क्वायर माइनस 2ab प्लस बी स्क्वायर इस तरह का करने के लिए उसको हम जो बीच वाली होगी टर्म, जैसे 6x है फॉर एग्जांपल इसमें, तो उसको हम इस तरह लिख लेंगे कि सेपरेट हो जाए और उस फॉर्म में आ जाए, 2ab की फॉर्म में आ जाए। वो आ जाएगी साइड पे, जो हमारा जो हमने 3 सेपरेट किया था उसको हम सॉल्व कर लेंगे। और जब पूरी हमारी इक्वेशन a² - 2ab + b वाली फॉर्म में आ जाएगी, तो हम वहाँ से उसको a - b होल स्क्वायर कर देंगे। और वहाँ से फिर हम अपनी जो ओरिजिनल इक्वेशन थी, जो a × x - h होल स्क्वायर प्लस के, इसके साथ कंपेयर करके h और k की वैल्यू से ले लेंगे।
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hazam. Acha, just one thing. In this question, we were applying a square minus 2ab plus b square. In some questions, it can also be a square plus 2ab plus b square, in which case it will be a plus b whole square. Uh, so there are just three things that you need to memorize for this type of question. So remember this identity, remember this identity, this general formula, because people tend to forget कि यहाँ पे minus है. Some people यहाँ minus plus लगाते हैं तो गलत हो जाता है. So remember that यहाँ पे minus है. And the last one is remember this. So just remember these three and you'll be good to do the completing square method. Remember that a positive value of A means that it's a minimum point and a happy phase curve. So positive and happy. A negative value of A means it's a sad phase. So negative and a sad phase curve will have a maximum point. Okay. Someone for middle term breaking? Yeah, Husna, you can go ahead.
Okay, so the first step is that you like multiply the first and the last number, and then you find two numbers which, when you add them, you make the middle term, and when you multiply them, you make like the after you multiply the first and the last number, and then you get those two numbers, and then you like either add or subtract depending on how it's going to make the middle term, and then you're going to take like the common like factors or like the common numbers and the common variable between the first two numbers, and then of the last two numbers, as long as both the brackets like have the same like two variables or two numbers, and then you get the two brackets, like the common one and the one which is like not common, and then you find the two xk like answers, and then you divide them, and then you add them, and then you divide them by 2, so you can get the average, and that's the x-intercept. And then you put the x-intercept in like the equation of the curve, and then that gives you the y-intercept.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Husna. I hope everyone else has also understood both the methods. Yeah, that's good. Baki, just one more thing that I'll mention jaldi se. Kamal, I'm coming to your question after this. So we did how to find the turning point. We also, in the process, did how to find the x-intercepts. So for the x-intercepts, you do the middle term breaking, and then you equate that with 0. So once you've broken the middle term, you'll equate both of these with 0. That will give you the x-intercepts. So iska tarika bhi we've done. And so this involves middle term breaking. So in questions जहाँ पर middle term breaking नहीं apply हो, in equations जहाँ middle term breaking नहीं apply होगी, वहाँ पर x-intercepts are found using the quadratic formula. But again, considering that you won't have a calculator, so they shouldn't be asking you questions जहाँ पे quadratic formula apply हो, so they won't give you those kind of equations. For the y-intercept, you basically take the equation and you put x equals to 0. Okay, because if you look at the graph, and let's say this is the curve, these are the axes, so ये उसका y-intercept है जहाँ वो y-axis को cut कर रहा है. So at this point you can see that the value of x is 0, right? यहाँ पे x 0 है. So that's why in the equation, let's say you have the equation ax² plus bx plus c. So this is how the equation is written. So you just replace both of these x with 0. So the value of y that you'll get, that will be the y-intercept. Okay. Sure. I hope, Sidra, that's clear. Acha, Kawal, you're asking how exactly will the question ask about the maximum minimum point? So they could give you the equation like in the form of ax² plus bx plus c, and then they've given you अब फॉर एग्जाम्पल ये वाला क्वेश्चन है, ठीक है, आई मीन ये इक्वेशन दी हुई है and they've given you 4 options. So they'll give you options इस तरह से. Let me show you. So ये आंसर है, हमें पता है, right? But they'll give you options. Option A is option A करेक्ट वाला है, ठीक है. B में क्या करेंगे वो? They'll switch the sign. So they'll make -3 and then 2. C में कुछ इस तरह कर देंगे कि they'll swap the numbers. और फिर D में भी ये करेंगे कि they'll swap the numbers with the sign, something like this. ठीक है. So those kind of stuff is done. Nine. So if someone asks you, they give you this equation, y equals to 2x squared minus 12x plus 16, and then they say to you, find the solutions of the equation when y equals to 0 या y equals to something. So जब solutions की बात आती है ना, so they'll be giving you a certain value of y, या फिर they'll just give you the equation in the terms of 2x squared minus 12x plus 16 equals to 0. ठीक है. So solutions सिर्फ जब होंगे जब there is a full equation with only one variable. ठीक है. So either you have the equation in this form, या फिर यहाँ पर कोई number है, let's say there is like 9 over here. A solution can't be directly for a function. ठीक है. Because a function has infinite solutions. So every point on the function is called a solution to that function. But we have to specify which point we're looking at, then we can find a specific solution. So yeah, maximum minimum points are just properties of quadratic equations which are helpful in sketching the graph. Okay, in most cases. Over here, obviously because it's an MCQ test, so you won't have sketching wala kaam. There's a question in the आज के जो question practice questions हैं जो form share करूँगा मैं, उसके अंदर last question that's about quadratic equation. It's simple though. I'll show it to you as well. So they've given a graph over here and they've asked you which of these will be the equation to it. ठीक है. So you guys can see this बाद में. So इस तरह questions होंगे. नहीं. Kaval, when y equals to 0 होगा ना, so तो maximum minimum points aren't solutions. Regardless of the value of y, maximum minimum point तो एक ही होंगे. So let's say we have a graph like this. ठीक है. इसको अलग कलर कर देते हैं. अब इस ग्राफ के ऊपर this is the minimum point because it's a happy face graph. ठीक है. अब ये minimum point of the graph जो है, ये हमारा y axis है, ये x axis है. अब ये जो minimum point है, this does not depend on the y axis. This is fixed. ये यहीं रहेगा कुछ भी हो जाए, as long as the function of the graph is the same. Solution इस तरह से होता है कि the question could ask you, इस ग्राफ की equation is ax square plus bx plus c, and then find the solution at y equals to 0. This is y equals to x square plus bx plus c. So y equals to 0 is this line. यहाँ पर जो है y0 है. Above this line, this is y1, this is y2, this is y3, this is y minus 1, minus 2, right? So this is the line जहाँ पे y0 है. The solutions will be the points which cut this line. So ये वाला point और ये वाला point will be the solutions to y equals to 0. So y equals to 0 के solutions जो होते हैं, those are also called the x-intercepts. ठीक है. अब someone could ask you what are the solutions, find the solutions at y equals to 0. So in that case, you would be graphically, you would be drawing a line at y equals to 1 and then finding these points. But on paper, how we'll do it? We'll replace y over here with 1. Okay? So you'll get ax square plus bx plus c equals to 1, and then you will solve this equation. Okay, solution of equations we'll do later. You've uh, basically covered that in middle term breaking, but we'll apply that in questions later on. But so वहाँ समझ आ जाएगा. But this is how you'll apply it if you have to find the solution. Okay, so solution is independent of maximum minimum point. I hope that's clear. We can only use completing when y equals to 0. Like, so completing again is something that you're using to find the minimum and maximum point. So minimum maximum point के अंदर y is not a certain value. उसके अंदर पूरा ग्राफ कंसिडर कर रहे हैं, तो वहां पर y की वैल्यू स्ट्रेट नहीं होती, वहां पर सिर्फ फंक्शन दिया होगा कि उस ग्राफ की इक्वेशन क्या है. Where is which test? Sorry, which test are you talking about? And AQ style word problems, you can, the best source is obviously the practice questions that AQ ने दिए on its website. We'll also be covering them in the sessions, but you can go on the website and find those as well. Okay, if नहीं मिले बता देना, I'll send it. Acha, now let's try a few questions. Does someone want to try the first question over here? So remember over here, they're asking for the distance between the two x-intercepts of the parabola. So first you need to find the two x-intercepts, which we did in the middle term breaking wala method, and then you'll find the distance between them. Yes, Laiva, that's how you would do it. Basically, I was planning to cover that in a different session, so that's why I didn't go over that. But yes, that's how you'll be doing it. Perfect, Kawil. Is everyone else also getting the same answer? Okay. So Jaldis, we'll go over this. We'll first break the middle term. So to find the x-intercepts, if you multiply the first two terms, this is 1 and then that's 10. So that gives us 10. We can have 2 times 5, which is 10. And then 2 minus 5 is minus 3, right? So we'll have plus 2x minus 5x minus 10, x common, x plus 2, minus 5 common, x plus 2. So x minus 5 and x plus 2. Equating these with 0. So we'll have x equals to 5 and x equals to minus 2. Now, if we look at the graph, so this means that this point has to be minus 2 and this has to be 5. So we need to find the distance between these 2 points. So you subtract the 2 points. So 5 minus minus 2, 5 plus 2, which is 7. So correct, you all got this correct. Sure. Okay, so now over here we have a question where they're asking for the solution. So Kaval, see over here, just to clear your confusion. So जब भी solutions की बात होगी ना, so you'll have an equation with only one variable. So देखो यहाँ पे there is no y, so there is only x over here. And you can bring this to a general quadratic form by shifting 8 to the left side. So 3x square minus 10x minus 8 is equals to 0. Okay? So now because this is an equation with 0 on one side, now we can find the solutions to the equation. Solutions किस तरह ढूंढेंगे? Again, to find the solutions, we'll break the middle term and we'll find the value of x. So for breaking the middle term, we'll multiply 3 with 8. This will be 24. So 24 and we need 10. So if you see 2 times 12 is 24 and 2 minus 12 is minus 10. So to break the middle term, 3x square plus 2x minus 12x minus 8 equals to 0. We can take x common, 3x plus 2. We can take minus 4 common, 3x plus 2 again. We take 3x plus 2 common, so we'll have x minus 4 equals to 0. Now we equate each of them with 0. 3x plus 2 equals to 0, x minus 4 equals to 0, 3x equals to minus 2, x equals to minus 2 over 3, and x equals to 4. So they said that there are two solutions, A and B, and A is greater than B. So A should be this and B should be minus 2 over 3, right? I made some mistake. Yeah, okay, my bad. ठीक है. So the problem is that यहाँ पर है ये positive 10x है. I made a mistake in writing this. So this is positive 10x. So यहाँ positive 10x होगा. So when we break the middle term, so we need them to be in a way that 10x हो. So we'll keep minus 2x here and plus 12x here. Okay, my bad. Thank you guys for mentioning that as well. Now if I take x common, I'll have 3x minus 2 plus 4 common, 3x minus 2. So 3x minus 2 equals to 0. So A has to be greater than B. So this will be A and this will be B. So we need to do B square. So minus 4 square, which is 16. So you guys are correct again. Subhan, the reason it's not A is that they've said that A is greater than B. That means that 2 upon 3 should be A and minus 4 should be B. And then we need to find the square of B. Does that make sense? That's fine. I also made the same mistake. It's perfectly okay. But just be careful because इस तरह के silly mistakes से marks जाते हैं. Okay, any other question over here? So try question 8 over here. You'll see questions like these a lot. Husna, I'll just explain it. Just give me, just once I'm done with this, I'll go back to that. Take it. Just give me a minute. ठीक है, some people are saying A, some are saying C. ठीक है, so let's see. So the first hint that they've given to us is, okay, the turning point is 3 comma minus 8. On the basis of the turning point, we can make a general equation which will be x minus 3 square minus 8. Okay. So we can cross out B and we can cross out D. अब A और B में confusion है. A और C में confusion है, sorry. Because we don't know the value of A. Now to confirm the value of A, what we can do is that we take any one of these 2 points. So if we consider the first point, the coordinates of this point, this is the x-intercept, the coordinates will be 1, comma 0. Sorry. So I can input the coordinates of this point into the equation. So I'll replace y with 0, A as it is, x with 1, so I can shift 8 to the left side. So 8 upon 4 equals to A. So A equals to 2. So that's why the answer will be option C. Good job, Abish. Kaval, Zubair, Qasim, did you guys understand? Again, at first glance, A seemed correct because according to the turning point, that was perfect. But this question shows the importance of checking the other options as well. Even if you think the first option is correct, do cross out all of the other options. Never just answer based on the first option. Okay, I guess we'll stop over here. We'll continue with the other questions in the next session, because though they will take some time. Acha, Husna, you had a question in the previous problem in the previous one as well. Mm, Why did I cut D? So one person's asking why did I cut D? So the reason is that according to D, if you look at option D, you compare this with our general formula x minus h whole square plus k. So according to this, the turning point should be minus 3 comma minus 8, whereas the turning point in the question was 3 comma minus 8. Okay, so this is wrong because of that reason. I hope this is clear. Husna, can you tell me what uh, confusion are you having over here? Okay, and about the previous one? Yeah, I'm on this one. You guys can ask whatever confusion you had in the second last question. Okay, so we got the 2x coordinate 2 upon 3 and -4. Husna, can you tell me, if you just have two numbers, let's say you have 3/4 and -1, which of these numbers is the bigger number?
The 3.4.
Right. Acha, keep yourself unmuted. That would help me a bit. So they've said that the two solutions are A and B, and A is greater than B. So which of these solutions will be A and which will be B?
Okay, I got it. I got it.
Got it? Okay. So -4 will be B, so we square that. Okay. Kaval, yes, we'll have more sessions, inshallah. And don't worry, we'll inshallah cover the whole syllabus, and we'll keep practicing as well throughout the week. Uh, Acha. Any other questions if anyone has? We'll end the session over here. So, Qasim, this question depends on your own requirement. So, if you're someone who's been practicing maths, like for physics or chemistry, you've been doing that without a calculator, तो फिर इतना problem नहीं होगी. For those people who haven't, who've not been doing maths or calculator at all, उनके ज़्यादा problem है. They'll have to practice more. So basically flow की बात है. Content तो आसान है, तो ज़्यादा नहीं है. Content is very small that you need to do, but you need to be able to do it fast. So I would say that you should be practicing thoda bahut every day, like maybe half an hour. Uh, sure, Ramsha, I'll send practice questions as well. Uh, so for practicing, I would recommend कि PrepDummy का जो question bank है, that's a good question bank. We have questions. We have a lot of questions for maths over there. So you guys could purchase that. वहाँ से कर लो. The reason I'm not saying College Panda book for practice is because वहाँ पर जैसे you can see over here, जैसे question 9 है यहाँ पे. Question 9 है, question 10 है. So these questions aren't MCQs. These are just general questions. So हमारे टेस्ट में एक टेस्ट में सिर्फ MCQs आएंगे. So College Panda के अंदर content is valid, it's good for you, but the style of questions isn't going to be like the AQ style. हमारे question bank में ये है कि questions, most of them will be the AQ style questions, so you'll have that benefit over there. ठीक है? But I would say get the question bank, whatever question bank you're using, do practice at least half an hour maths के questions every day. अच्छा, और for those of you who haven't registered yet, please, if you're planning to, please do so as soon as possible, because uh, we'll be having classes consistently now, so you'll miss out otherwise. So do register ASAP. And yeah, if anyone has any other questions, you can go ahead. Otherwise, we'll end the meeting. I'll be sharing this PDF on the group. I'll share the recording as well once it's uploaded. And I'm sending the form on the group for the questions for today. Please do them. Please submit the form before the next session, because in the next session we'll discuss those questions. So वहाँ जिस कोई problem होगी हम वो discuss करेंगे. And again, reiterating this, it's important to fill the form, because from that I'll get an idea of what topics you guys are having problem in, so that we can focus more on those. You're welcome. ठीक है guys, चलो, see you in the next session. Keep practicing, keep preparing for your test. बहुत vital 2 months हैं. I know you guys have been studying for the past few months as well boards के लिए, लेकिन